Hello to everyone. My name is Rocío Sosa Fernández. I'm from the University of Santiago de Compostela, and in this occasion I will present my work, which is titled Universal Virtual Reality, as you can see in this slide. This is a cultural and geographic gaps in research in his application in the higher education, especially for educational purpose. This is a systematic review that we do with another colleagues. In this presentation, we work with Enrique Castelló Mayo and Méndez Fernández. We are part of the research group Grupo de Estudios Audiovisuales and the platform of the research in virtual reality, Virtus. We all are part of the University of Santiago de Compostela, and first of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference, the Interactive Film and Media Conference, for giving me this space for present these communications. This is a work in progress, and I present the preliminary results so we can start. In this occasion, I use the technology of 𝗔𝗯𝘀𝘁𝗿, which is a software created by the company of Brainstorm Multimedia, and I use to create a more interactive presentation. So be kind to me, I present and using the technology at the same time, so maybe some technical problems happens during this presentation. Before I start, I would like to present some basic concepts. The first one is about the virtual reality. This is a technology that allows the user to be surrounded by virtual elements in a virtual environment. And this technology in the last years has many advantages for the educational purpose uses. In this occasion, there is, for example, some studies found that there is an increasing amount of motivation to the students when learning something with technology, especially with virtual reality. But there is not only this, it's also about it's easy for students to understand complex concepts, and it gives more interest in the subjects. No? With this advantage, there is also it's also supported for many cases. If we search, for example, virtual reality in the database, for example, Web of Science and Scopus, there is an increased amount of results in the last years. First of all, I would like to present in a more closer shot. In 2005, there is only 20 studies about the uses of virtual reality in the higher education. But the amount is increasing, for example, in 2025, that is 163 results. As you can see, there is an increase in numbers of studies. But if we are focused, for example, if we are focused, for example, in the years, you can see the main squares in this picture. It's about the recent years, like 2025, 2024. There is an increased number of results when we search about virtual reality. If we did this research on the Web of Science, we found almost 4,000 results. If we focus or analyze the countries that employs more this technology, the main are China, United States, Australia, Canada, and England in some case. They're the biggest squares in the pictures. But if, for example, we also see, I can show you, there's a picture, there's a graphic, sorry. If we search the same phrase or the same topic about the virtual reality use cases in Scopus, it's more than 6,000 results. What are the main countries? In the same line like Web of Science, we have in the United States almost 1,300 results, followed by China, for United Kingdom and Spain and the other countries. This is only a big picture, but you can see there is an important topic which is very relevant in the higher education. With this in mind, I will ask you, in our study, we're focused that there is a very important use of this technology in the next years. About the Horizon report, there is an increasing number, not only using virtual reality, but also using extended reality. But what about the perspective of the users of these studies? About the users are the same. We can see in the result there is a lot of countries, but the user's perspective maybe can affect the results of the studies. There is only one perspective of a big panoramic view of these results. What about the difference of the users, the backgrounds of the users, and also the perspective and opinions about the technology? Are they all the same? It's the main question that motivates us to do this research. With this in mind, we ask, what is the connection between virtual reality and culture? What is the connection? There is a consideration in the studies. All the users are the same, as I mentioned before. With this main purpose, there is also another studies. There is also a concert, the concert of the experts about the perspectives of culture in the virtual studies in general. And 𝗔𝗯𝘀𝘁𝗿 and the research group create a scale of virtual intercultural interactions. When we use this technology, they classify all the studies in these 6 main categories. The first is about the experience and emotions of the users, about the backgrounds or the race or the ethnics, and also intercultural understanding, the intercultural dialogue, how they communicate between them, and cultural learning and development, and acceptance of the cultural diversity. And finally, there is other studies that are focused, for example, in cultural challenge. With this main scale, we base our research and try to classify and try to find a systematic review about if the studies of virtual reality consider this scale in their research. What we do and what is the main questions in our study is how the cultural aspect of the virtual reality use cases are considered in the literature, especially in higher education uses, because we can see before there is a lot of results in Web of Science and Scopus, but we try to focus and analyze if there is any cultural perspective inside these results. With this in mind, we select or designed and use a Prismas model. This is a systematic review methodology, and we explain in a little bit closer. We designed these two main sentences. The first about the Scopus and the other is about the Web of Science. In this case it was. And we first of all split or divided the main questions that we have before in 3 main parts. The first is about the virtual reality, especially the technology. In this case is virtual reality or VR or V.R. In the second is about the culture background and ethnic, race and racial. We have a lot of similar words. The reason is because we want to include as many results as we can. And the first part is about the university level, higher education, college, and other words. With these 3 main parts, we construct and we create this sentence, this research sentence, and we adapt for each database. In this occasion, in this Scopus, as you can see in this picture, we adapt and use title, abstract, and keywords just to focus in the keywords that we selected. And in the other, we just use a topic, a general topic, because it's better for include. If we try to filter some ways in the words, is only using the articles, so this systematic review is based in articles. Why we select these two databases? Because they are the main database that include studies about the virtual reality use cases. There is a lot of a huge amount of results, as we can see in the previous one. And what is very surprised when we include the keyword about the culture is about that we can see in the next results. With this Prisma model, we can see and closer. With this, we use the basic diagram of Prisma in this occasion, and there is we did the research in the two databases. The first one we have in Web of Science 264, as you can see, and in Scopus we found 369. We filter also articles, but we don't include a period of time, especially for not limited the studies. So if you compare the first research that we did about a general topic of virtual reality in university use cases in university level, there is a huge amount of money that it's reducing in this occasion. So we finally found 633 results, articles, and we have also combined them and exclude the duplicate records. As you can see in this picture, in this field, there is we exclude 162 duplicate records, and we screened 471. Just when we screen the title and the abstract, we exclude also articles that don't include virtual reality or VR in the title and the abstract, and also we exclude review articles. As you can remember, in the first part, we filtered the results just to select the articles, but in this occasion there is some articles that didn't mention as a keyword or in the title of the abstract that there is a systematic review. For example, there is other cases that it is a mapping or a scoping review and didn't mention in the main parts of the paper, and you couldn't realize that there is a systematic review after or before you can read all the paper. Also, we exclude studies that talk about the augmented reality, extended reality, and mixed reality. Also, we exclude comparative studies from both and three technologies because we are focused just in virtual reality in this occasion. And after we exclude all these results, we had 143 results, and with this amount of paper, we read them and exclude 131 studies which talk about the culture as a topic, but not as an analyzed perspective. What I would like to mention is that there is some papers that talk about the culture, but as a representation of a historical place, as a simulation for learn something, but there is not the main part of the article. In this occasion, if there is, for example, an article that is talk about the culture, and they also analyze the background of the users or the participants, we include. But the article that it's only uses cases or a representation of something or a place or a topic, we exclude. Why? Because in this occasion we like to analyze papers that is talking about or include in their study the user perspective. After we exclude these studies, we had 12 studies that is the sample of this research review. So with this in mind, we start to read the papers and analyze if there is there is a goal, or there is an option for this study to classify them in the intercultural categories that I presented before. So in this occasion, I will present each of them, okay? The first is about we try to classify the studies in the virtual intercultural interaction scale, as you can see in this picture. And the first one is about cultural challenge. In the cultural challenge, for example, there is 3 studies that we found. In this first category, we recreating, or the studies are recreating the real cultural challenge in a safe environment. In several studies, VR was used to simulate situation of cultural friction. For example, about the anxiety of communicating between high and low context cultures, the stress of adapting to a new country, for example, or everyday discrimination. They're very sensitive topics in this occasion, and the papers talk about also allowed researchers to accurately measure variables like communication skills, social identity orientation, without exposing the participants to the real environment. The most representative cases here are the cross-cultural study with Chinese and international students, the work of co-ethnic projects, for example, in Singapore, and the research about the immigrant or the migrant students in Russia. The next category is about, let me to show, okay. The next is about the next about cultural learning and development. In this occasion, VR acts as an immersive window into other realities. Here, the common strategy was to use 360 degrees tours through the temples, markets, historic centers, or even to ask the students themselves to create virtual content about their own local culture. The main goal was to, first of all, to become aware of new own cultural heritage, and the second is to understand the norms and the practice of other cultures. Yeah, we clearly see this approach in an intercultural project, for example, in Taiwan, in some article, and also the immersion in Korean culture and the tours of Jerusalem and Tokyo, and learning Chinese, for example, in Malaysia. There is 5 studies classified in this category. And the next one is about intercultural dialogue. In this occasion, we classify 4 studies. After the virtual experience, some studies, for example, or some virtual experience, don't let the students stay silent. They took part in a structured discussion in real time or through the avatars to share viewpoints, negotiate meanings, and practice communication across cultures. In some cases, the virtual space were designed as a cultural rooms, European, Asian, Latin American, where stereotypes and personal experience were openly discussed. Some examples, for example, are included in German study with 360 degrees videos. They also work with role play with avatars in academic settings, for example, or using social VR environment to exchange some thoughts about the cultural perspective from China to Indonesia, for example. And the next one is about intercultural understanding. In this case, we go a further step. There is 6 studies classified in this category. VR was especially designed to reveal subcultural difference, for example, about gestures, tone of voice, and spoken values, and directly confront stereotypes and ethnocentrism. Researchers also measure change in intercultural competence. This is a very popular topic in cultural perspective. Empathy and critical awareness before and after the experience. Cases such as the diverse presentation in chemical labs, the immersion in Korean culture, for example, the Mandarin Learning Project, and the virtual visits to Jerusalem and Tokyo, as I talked before, are great examples in how VR was used to read the other cultures more deeply. And another is about the acceptance of cultural diversity, for example. In this category, we had 3 articles. The acceptance of diversity was addressed from very design of the experience. Instead of simply talking about inclusion, they create environments where students saw different races, genders, and ethnic backgrounds represented, or virtual instructors and avatars. In addition, the language was carefully revised to remove bias, and the power dynamics present in face-to-face classrooms were eliminated. It is only online interaction between the participants, and we can see is that students value positively. Value in a great way the diversity of the virtual teaching assistants, and also for example, in the Singapore study, which used cultural markers to explore some stereotypes without direct confrontation. So what is even more, and the last category, and I didn't include in the list because there is not a space in this space of the presentation, this experience and emotion. We've had 4 papers in this category, and this is the most human dimension, because the experience and emotions are really evoked by the virtual reality studies, but embodied in avatar with a different accent, or by facing a simulation of discrimination, participants felt empathy in a way that traditional methods rarely achieve. They measure, for example, stress, intense emotional response when they're recorded, and safe spaces were created to talk about the racism, and the stereotypes. The case, for example, from Singapore to the cultural rooms in social VR, for example, and the exchange between China and Indonesia shows that this technology not only transmits knowledge, but also touch the emotional chords that are essential for genuine intercultural communication. With this in mind, I would like to say that it becomes clear that virtual reality, when we design with a cultural intent or with cultural purpose, goes far beyond the technological novelty, that is clear. It allows us to face challenge, learning by doing, dialogue without barriers in safe environments also, but to understand the others and try to interact between them, to know to each other from a different perspective. That means that to feel what I mean to be in someone else's shoes. With this, I would like to say thank you very much for your attention. Thank you for listening to me in these communications, and I will see you in the conference.